What's going on, everyone? About 69% of the S&P 500 closed down in the red today, and we had another crazy day in the market as the S&P 500 broke past its all-time high yet again. Palantir ripped to the upside. South Korea declared martial law out of nowhere. We have some crazy trades tied to the Trump administration, and we have the big man, Jerome Powell, set to speak tomorrow. There's a lot of crazy action in the market right now. In today's video, we're going to cover everything you have to know and some great setups to keep on your radar. But besides that, Tom, let's get right to it.
Yeah, new all-time highs here right as the market closed. In after hours, actually, is when the SPY touched these new highs up right around 604.60. So we'll definitely be watching this into tomorrow, and we'll be talking about SPY a lot throughout the video today. And of course, Mike, there were a lot of great tech stocks today. Apple did great. Meta was popping off. So it seems like tech is really what fueled the SPY today because, like you said, 69% were down in the red. It definitely doesn't seem like a green day. That's for sure whenever you think about it. But one stock that really fueled, I would say, or has had a lot of fuel lately and just has been on a massive rally is Palantir. And everybody is wondering, wow, what really caused this pop today up to $70? We go in, we look at the daily chart, Mike, and every time that we think Palantir is about to slow down, it says, hey, hold my beer.
Every time that Palantir slows down a little bit, just give it a couple days, and then before you know it, it'll be back to its all-time high, or at least that's what the trend has been like lately. But they actually had some great news today where they basically received authorization from the government that is going to allow the Palantir to basically get more integrated into the government's cloud security system. More specifically, we could see that they got the FedRAMP government authorization, and this again basically gives Palantir products and services the ability to handle the sensitive data that goes along with everything the government is doing. But long story short, Palantir has just been on a massive uptrend over the past year, and especially in the short term, it's just getting crazier and crazier. I know this is a stock that we've been very vocal and bullish about for a very long time now, and I love this company, and I'm so excited to see what they do in the future, Tom. But at the same time, I mean, it's you can't help but ask yourself, when is this crazy uptrend going to slow down?
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't mean that the stock's necessarily going to crash, but at least have a slowdown, right? And a lot of people are starting to still jump on ship and buy up here. And I don't know, I would definitely take caution doing that at these levels. Of course, we don't know how long this trend is going to continue for, but going and looking at Palantir, Mike, and going back, it's so far above now its recent all-time high, which was right around $44 to $45. I just can't believe how much this stock has really extended up here in the short term. And whenever you zoom out, it really puts this one into perspective. And we've seen stocks like this come back before. We've talked about Tesla a lot on the channel here, and Tesla, even on the way up, would see big periods of drawdowns and pullback. But of course, they would keep the trend going, later that year or something like that. So just keep that in mind. There probably will be a slowdown at some point, and it's getting to that parabolic time, Mike, to where it's hey, whenever we start to see people asking these questions is whenever we're hey, now might be the time to look at selling.
So looking at Palantir more on a short-term view, what would you say are the key levels to keep on the radar in the short term? Because, either way, the stock is moving in a crazy way. And while now might not be the greatest time to buy in for the long term, that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that Palantir won't offer good short-term opportunities. And I would actually say it's quite the opposite. When you see stocks going crazy, assuming that you're adaptable and willing to trade both directions, I would say those are the times where you see the biggest and craziest moves. So we have really no resistance because the stock is at all-time highs. But what are you seeing in terms of major levels?
Yeah, I think the high of day from today, right around 71.40, is going to be a huge level to watch for tomorrow. You can see how that's a pretty good resistance. There was a little double top there around the end of the day, and on these breakouts with Palantir, in my opinion, is where the real potential is. Today, we just broke above a key $68 resistance, and if we do break 71.40 tomorrow, there's going to be a couple areas to watch out for as you trade this one to the upside. So first off, on the Bookmap, there was about 101,000 shares stacked up at 70 $72. And even better than that, there was 188,000 at 75, and there was a 33,000 at 73 and 31,000 at 74. So there's a couple minor levels mixed in there, but you can tell 72 and 75 are going to be the bigger areas tomorrow where there's some big sell walls lined up. So definitely be ready for those two levels. And I would say $75 would be a great target if we do see 72 break and the high of day from yesterday.
Sounds good. And then, as always, keep a close eye on that $70 as well, because that is a psychological level, and it was tough for Palantir to actually get through 70 today. It had to fight for hours, but it eventually got through it. So keep 70 on watch for a potential support, and even around that like $68.50 mark. But either way, keep a close eye on Palantir going forward. But another side of the market that you should certainly watch closely is what Donald Trump Jr., what companies he joins. Basically, Donald Trump Jr. has been going pretty crazy with some of his stock market connections lately, where basically he's been joining boards of these small companies, sending shares to the moon. Today, it got announced that he joined the board of PSQ Holdings, ticker symbol PSQH, and the stock popped up by 270% today. Last week, he joined the board of ticker symbol UMAC, which is a drone and like components company, and that stock ripped to the upside as well. So basically, Donald Trump Jr. has been on like a board joining spree. So if you have any way to see what company's board he's going to join next, that would be one of the best pieces of short-term stock information you can get, because this is the second time he did this just over the past week, and these stocks are like going crazier than I would say anything else at the moment.
Oh my gosh, 270%. And judging by the way UMAC moved, there could still be some more room left in this run. Like UMAC actually had a multi-day move there after that, so that was pretty big to see. But Mike, the thing that really struck me, I would say the biggest with this, like you said, if you could get this information, it's definitely huge. There was actually a former U.S. Senator from Georgia named Kelly Loeffler who actually bought 1.2 million shares of PSQH on October 24th for about $3.25 million. So just imagine this, October 24th, $3.25 million thrown into this stock. If we go to PSQH and we go to October 24th and we're like, okay, what levels was she buying at? Mike, like she was getting into this stock like right around like the $2.75 to $3 mark. That's a big gain right there from a former senator getting in like just a month before this news.
Especially considering the stock is trading for $8.50 right now. So that's the thing. So either way, keep a close eye not only on PSQH and UMAC in the short term, because they do have a lot of momentum and hype to them, but also keep your eyes peeled going forward for any news attached to Donald Trump Jr. and any boards that he might join, because the market is heavily rewarding those sort of like headlines right now, and for partially good reason. And what's pretty exciting is that he has a tendency of joining boards of relatively small companies. So when the news does come out, the movement is insane, and it's pretty easy for these companies to move given like how small the companies are. Either way, keep a close eye on these stocks going forward, and keep your eyes peeled for more news like this over the couple, I would say over like the next couple weeks or so, because it is definitely hot. But with some more what we'll call interesting political news, South Korea, out of nowhere, declared martial law today and banned, among many things, political activity, strikes, media freedom, and many other things. This is the first time since 1980 that South Korea declared martial law, and this news certainly came out of nowhere, but the good news is that the president suspended that martial law now, which is good, but it definitely shook up South Korean stocks. So if you look at ticker symbols like CPNG and EWY, you can see these stocks sold off in a pretty hard way to start the day and ended up recovering as everyone kind of calmed down a little bit. But Tom, what is going on now? Like this market's getting crazier and crazier, and I'm curious to see what 2025 has in store.
Oh my gosh, like we have stuff going on between Israel and Iran and Israel and Hezbollah and all these different people. And then we have stuff going on with Russia and Ukraine. Now we have South Korea to worry about. Like, oh my gosh, like what is happening? And then you even throw China and Hong Kong into the mix and you're like, oh my gosh, like there's a lot of weird stuff going on. But hey, the good news is that while the South Korean stocks fell, the US markets didn't care. So that was a good thing in my opinion. At least the US market didn't seem to fear this too much. But I would say to keep your eyes on like maybe gold and silver with this situation as well. If it does start to pop off a little bit more, then I think it could get a little bit worse. But nonetheless, it's good to see him at least suspend the martial law so that at least they're getting it over with pretty quickly, it sounds like. So that's a good sign.
That's the thing. So I'm going to keep a close eye on EWY in the short term. A lot of the fears are mostly calmed down right now, but if we do see more tensions continue to escalate, EWY puts will definitely be on the radar. And as we could see, like just from open today, it definitely did have that like rapid sell-off potential. So this isn't like the craziest setup ever, but it's just like one of many setups that we'll talk about in today's video to keep on the radar for potential opportunities as the situation unfolds. But another thing that was pretty crazy today is that we saw the Celsius Network CEO Alex Mashinsky plead guilty to his fraud case, which was interesting by itself. But what was pretty funny about this is that Celsius stock, ticker symbol CELH, actually popped up off of this news, even though there's no connection between these events at all. We've seen situations like this happen back in 2020, where you have like one major headline that has a different stock, but with a similar company name move in a big way. So I thought this was, again, pretty interesting, and we're going to talk more about Celsius as the video goes on, because there's actually a pretty good setup with this one.
Yeah, that was pretty hilarious, Mike. I could not believe that ended up moving this stock as much as it did. And I saw all over Twitter and all over like different headlines about this news with Celsius going on. And then everybody's like, that's not even the CEO. And I like started looking into it and I'm like, holy crap, it's really not. Like because I went to the stock, I looked at the volume, and we've seen this happen a little bit recently. So, that goes to show, take everything that you see on the news with a little grain of salt, especially nowadays with some of the different media sources coming out there. But nonetheless, it was good to see CELH recovering, and like you said, we will hit on it a little bit more.
Exactly. And Celsius also did present at the Morgan Stanley Consumer and Retail Conference today, so that definitely helped a little bit, but we'll talk more about the specific setup with this one as the video goes on. But I guess you could say on a different crypto front, not the Celsius crypto front, we have Bitcoin still holding pretty strong as it's trading right around that $96,000 mark, which is nice to see. It is a little bit calm in the short term, so I'm not expecting anything like too crazy out of this one like over the next day or so. But as many of us have noticed, Ripple, ticker symbol XRP, is still in crazy mode right now.
Yeah, XRP is nuts. It actually fell a little bit today, down 3.65%, but just look at the volatility that came into this coin today. I mean, oh my gosh, like, it was dipping down to 2.25 and then coming all the way back up to 2.7, and it got pretty volatile there for a little while. So it's definitely still on the radar, and we go to the daily chart and it's still pretty close to the recent high. Bitcoin did pull back, like you said today. I'm watching it pretty closely because it's been kind of staircasing itself up pretty well. And it seems like right now we're like right on the edge of a staircase, getting ready to maybe go for another run. So that's kind of what I'm looking for with Bitcoin. I just know that everybody is looking for 100,000 a coin with Bitcoin, right? When's it going to happen? Is it going to hit before the end of the year? I'm getting a little worried. I thought it was a sure thing, but I don't know. It's slowing down a little bit.
Yeah, it got $200 away from that 100K mark back towards the end of November, so it's still so close, and it certainly has potential to break, but it's going to need to pick up more momentum. But I do like how closely it is hugging those recent highs, which is a good sign, and it also shows that, we are seeing like buyers hold this level pretty strongly. So I think we're set for a very exciting end to the year, especially with the crypto side of things. So of course, keep a close eye on Bitcoin. Some of the some meme coins like Ripple, Doge, Shiba, and others, but also crypto stocks like Coinbase, MSTR, Mara, and everything else that goes along with that. But back on the stock side of things, we do have the big man, Jerome Powell, set to speak tomorrow, which should bring in some pretty nice volatility.
Yeah, he's going to be having a moderated discussion at the New York Times Deal Book Summit in New York. So that'll be interesting at 1:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Get ready tomorrow afternoon. It should be a very interesting time with the SPY, right? Definitely expect a little bit of volatility to come from that. And then as far as the economic schedule goes, there is ISM Services PMI tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Time as well after the market opens.
Sounds great. So keep a close eye on these two times because they definitely will move the markets. And then earnings season, or I guess you could say the earnings lineup is pretty good this week as well, as we have multiple companies set to report. And some of the biggest ones from today were CRM, OKTA, and MRVL. And so far, all three of these stocks are doing very well in after hours. So keep them on watch for potential continuation style setups and like earnings continuations for tomorrow. Again, they're moving with good momentum and pretty good price action in after hours so far. And then we can't forget about that Chewy report before the bell tomorrow.
Yeah, ticker symbol CHWY. Watch for any opportunities following its pre-market movement there with that one as well. And then, of course, Campbell's Soup, Cracker Barrel, and Hormel reporting in pre-market as well with ChargePoint and after hours. So that's pretty much it for the earnings rundown for tomorrow. So I guess we'll get right into the SPY levels and analysis, Mike. And, you know, SPY today made a brand new all-time high. It's hard to say exactly what the short-term resistance is for tomorrow, but I will say 605 being a whole dollar and psychological level, I think will hold up as a decent level of resistance. Today's resistance was right around the high of yesterday, very close to 604 to 604.30. We ended up moving past that in after hours tonight. We have to hold this level into tomorrow. If we end up falling down, I'll be watching a very key support right around 602.50. 602.50 has held up fantastically well over the past couple of days. There's been a lot of hits on there. So if we see 602.50 breakdown, I'll look to become a little bit more bearish and trade it down into that $601 to $600 demand zone. But that's what I'm looking for at the SPY tomorrow. The main thing is can we hold above 604 and keep this good momentum going?
Yeah, that's the key question, and SPY has been pretty strong in the short term, which is good to see. Like you said, we're right at all-time highs, and SPY has just been like inching to the upside. It's really great to see, especially tech companies, fuel that run higher. You know, you look at stocks like Apple, Meta, Microsoft. You could even say Palantir with some help there as well, as they are now in the S&P 500 and certainly running in a strong way. So they're definitely fueling the rally, and it's definitely a beautiful thing to see. So I'll definitely keep a close eye on the SPY levels you listed. But besides that, let's get right into some setups and predictions. A stock that is definitely on my radar is Apple. I know I've been talking about this stock so much over the past few videos, but it is just working in an amazing way. Apple is one of the strongest big tech companies in the market in the short term. Their price action has been great, and this short-term uptrend has been extremely consistent. It is still on my radar for a bullish play, but we are getting to that area where we might see, some profit taking come into play. So while Apple is one of the strongest big tech companies in the market right now, as with any setup, we want to be willing and happy to adapt with the changing price action as it progresses. For example, if Apple opens up tomorrow and puts some nice pressure on its highs and, actively moves up in a strong way, that will be a great sign that'll bring in even more buying pressure as other traders out there buy the breakout and as the stock gets a lot more attention as it made a brand new all-time high. At the same time, if Apple were to start to pull back or sell off in a major way, then that would change the circumstances and justify a different viewpoint on the stock, more towards that bearish side of things. Either way, Apple is one of the strongest stocks in the market right now. It has been very consistent, and it's on my radar for tomorrow, and I'm excited to see how this one continues to move.
Yeah, we've had 2 great green days ever since that all-time high broke, and it's looking pretty fire here in the short term. I'll definitely keep watching it to the upside, Mike. Hopefully we keep seeing this good run continue. And with my first setup, I'm looking at ticker symbol NIO, and NIO had a pretty good move this morning up to around the 480 mark. If we start to see some good momentum again tomorrow morning with NIO, I will watch this one back up. These China stocks have been dipping a lot in the short term, but there has been a bit of a base starting to form down here on a lot of these. So I'll be watching for this support to continue to hold up in the short term. And I do want to see a re-break, though, tomorrow back above like 470. If we see a move back above that, I think that we could easily get back towards 480, if not even break it. So let's see a good momentum-filled move with NIO and some of the China stocks tomorrow. Now, there is one thing to watch out for. If the China stocks all gap down tomorrow, that'll be one thing that will worry me and maybe make me not play this. So just keep that in mind. If we open up really low with these, be a little wary.
All right, sounds good. Another stock that is definitely on my radar is CELH, Celsius. I know we talked a little bit about it, but basically it had some pretty good price action today, even though the news was a little bit weird. But this stock is at a point where it's very oversold in the grand scheme of things, and it bottomed out right around that like $25 area on November 18th. Since that point, it has been holding its ground in a strong way, which is actually a very good thing for Celsius, given how much it has been selling off over the past year. And I feel like it is now in this phase where it is having a transition in positioning, where a lot of the short sellers who have been just pounding this stock lower over the past year are starting to cover their positions and ease up a bit, while at the same time, some buyers are looking into this stock, especially given how bullish the overall market has been, where it's kind of making for an interesting dynamic with the stock, as we can see pretty obviously with the recent price action. Either way, Celsius is on my bullish radar for the short term, but this doesn't have to be a setup for tomorrow. This setup can take a couple of trading days at the very least to play out, but it's definitely on my bullish radar right now, and I like the overall reward to risk skew playing this one in a bullish way.
Yeah, it looks great. I love that short-term support, especially at 25, which is the recent low. But even in the short term, right around 27.50, that's looking fantastic, holding very well. And that move today was great. So I'll definitely keep watching in the short term as well, Mike. And with my next setup, I'm actually looking at ticker symbol META or Meta, which is going insane in after hours right now and has been going insane all day. And we keep looking at these big tech stocks like Apple, Meta, Microsoft that have been doing really well, helping out the SPY in the short term. And in after hours, Meta's pushing. I am looking at a huge level on the Bookmap tomorrow, which is $620. There was around 19,000 shares stacked there. Now, keep in mind on Meta, you're not going to get those levels where there's like a million shares stacked up. It's definitely no Apple, we'll say, in that sense. But at the end of the day, 620 is definitely a big stack here. So definitely watch this. There's 19,000 shares. If we do end up seeing a big rip up above 620, then I'll watch it even higher, of course. But I'm going to even target that tomorrow morning as well. The question is how high does this thing get in after hours, Mike? Like, these tech stocks are on one hell of a run right now.
Big time. Meta just has been absolutely crushing it. And, like you mentioned, there are some pretty serious sellers overhead at that $620 level, as we could see on Bookmap. So definitely keep that in mind. And if you guys haven't used Bookmap, they do still have their like Cyber Monday special going on, and it's pretty generous. So if you guys want to try Bookmap for yourself, check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. You do save with the StockedUp link. And like I said, their Black Friday, Cyber Monday deal is pretty generous. So definitely check that out. But besides that, Tom, we are all clear for today's momentum plays. And with the first one, we have UPS to the downside.
Yeah, this stock was down quite a bit today, just under the 130 support. If it breaks under 129.50, keep watching it down for tomorrow.
All right, with the next one, we have Coinbase for both directions.
Yeah, coin has been pretty wild here in the short term. It's been stuck in a range. So we're watching the upper edge of this range. If there's a good breakout above 318, I'll be watching Coinbase to the upside. And you can even get a little bit more risky and watch the high of day today if you want, right around 314.50 to 315. Just understand that there is still resistance around 318 in the short term. And as support, I'll be watching the 288 to 290 support range.
All right, sounds good. And then with the last one, we have SEDG also for both directions.
Solar Edge, pretty wild in the short term. It's been running up a ton, but it's starting to pull back. If it pulls back under $14.50, then watch SEDG to the downside. If it ends up recovering tomorrow, back up above $15.25, then watch it back up.
Sounds good. So we have SEDG, COIN, and UPS on watch for potential momentum plays tomorrow if and only if they break through the levels listed. Basically, the stronger and more consistent these stocks move, the better these setups become. We are looking for continuations with these setups, and these stocks are very volatile, which is a good thing as long as you are able to properly manage the setups. The worst thing that any trader can do is not adapt to changing conditions. So with these three stocks, they will move in a big way. We have the breakout levels listed, but understand that these stocks are volatile and you should be happy to adjust and flow with the trend changes as they happen. So definitely keep these ones on the radar. And besides that, Tom, let's jump right into today's $952,000 big money trade, and we are looking at ticker symbol CZR. So Caesars, as I'm sure many people have heard of before, basically had the 38 strike call options bid up today by the big money. These call options expire on June 20th of 2025. This is a $952,000 trade, and it's definitely an interesting one nonetheless. Looking at CZR, these options are right at the money. They have a good amount of time to them, and CZR is in the process of bouncing off of some key support levels. This stock has respected like the $32 to like $36.50 support area since 2018, and it's doing that yet again. It does have some resistance overhead between $40 a share and all the way up to like $42.50 per share. And like I said, the big money's buying this dip up. I like how it's a good size big money trade coming in at just under $1 million. These options are already at the money, and there's a good amount of time to them, and the market is pretty strong overall. So I'm pretty excited to see how this one does.
Yeah, it looks like it's coming up pretty well off of this dip here, especially around that $35 to $36 mark. That's looking like a pretty decent support in the short term to keep our eyes on. If it does break below there, I will get a little bit worried, but there's plenty of time with this. You know, at the end of the day, it could consolidate a little bit more within this range down to $32.50, and that could be something that we might just have to be okay with if we're longer term holders, of course, on this play as it starts to play out a little bit. But with CZR, I think it's mainly just giving it the time that it needs. Whenever you first said Caesar's stock, Mike, I was like, oh, salad sounds sure good, but I am looking here at the stock and I'm like, hey, this actually looks pretty good for a dip buy as well. And whenever you said the support went back to 2018, I was looking at it back to 2022 and I was like, wow, this looks great. I didn't realize that support held up that long.
Yeah. This stock has some history with the support area, so it definitely should be pretty interesting. And I really like how well it is, respected this area in the past, which is a good sign. So either way, we will definitely keep this one close on the radar. But before we move on, we have to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Rax, who had a great post in the Profits channel today. Huge shout out to you, Rax, and keep up the great work going forward. You've been a great member of the community, and we love having you in here. So huge shout out to you, and keep on rolling. If you guys are new to the StockedUp YouTube channel, welcome. Consider obliterating that subscribe button to get our videos recommended to you more often. Every single day, we cover the most important news, information, earnings, events, catalysts, setups, big money plays, and everything you have to know in usually 20 to 25 minutes or less, but when there's a lot to talk about, we have everything covered. So sometimes we go a little bit further than that. But yeah, definitely consider obliterating that subscribe button to get our videos recommended to you more often. Besides that, there's a lot going on in the market right now, especially with the crypto side of things and many other aspects of the market. I think we're set for a pretty awesome end to 2024, and I think we're set for a great week as well. Don't forget that Powell speaks tomorrow, and we do have ISM data. Besides that, thank you all so much for watching, and let's crush it in the market tomorrow.